Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I saw a lot of mixed faces arriving from the current 8th graders. Some that were excited wanted to maybe sit in the front row. Some seem maybe a little bit more apprehensive, and that's okay. We are here tonight to talk about all things high school. My name is Sarah Reif, and I get to be the Freshman Exploration Academy Counselor, which is a big, long name to say that I get to work with 9th graders all the time, and I very much enjoy it. I actually used to be at the middle school for a while, so I know where many of you are coming from, but now I get to be here at the high school working with freshmen. You can take a picture of this, you will get all this in an email, but make sure, please remember my name and know that I am here and ready and willing to serve and work with your students and answer any questions that you might have. Welcome to Alexandria Area High School. For those of you that this is your first experience, your first child going through, we are very excited and eager to have you. It feels a little bit unbelievable that we are already at the point of talking about next year when it's February and we still have the remainder of this year to go. But we are really looking forward to welcoming your student in for next year, and we do a lot of stuff on the front end to hopefully ease some of that stress and worry and just the wonder and concern that students may or may not have, and parents and families too, about coming over here to the high school. You can see right here, I have a screencast of myself going through all of this information I'm going to share right now. So I'll tell you on the front end, it's a lot of information. This will come out to everybody in a video, so you can actually click on that link and watch me say all of these things again if you would like. But you can also pause, write things down, and just go through if you have any other questions. The agenda for tonight is talking through high school and the difference between moving from wherever you're at right now, whatever middle school, into our high school. The requirements here at our high school, then we're going to get into some more freshman specifics, what the registration process looks like for you and your student, and then the timeline that goes along with that. The materials that you will need, thank you for your patience, were handed out to you out there. All you're going to need is that course catalog and that green registration folder, it's called, but for our purposes, it's that green sheet of paper. Two-sided, that's what we're going to be working with. And future freshmen, this is your first high school test. Okay, I'm going to already test you on the first night that you arrive, but I will send out a reminder because all of this has to come with you when I come to visit your middle school. That happens in a couple weeks. I will send a reminder out to parents, but make sure you bring this registration piece of paper along with your course catalog when we go through and talk about this. Also, in the slideshow, I'll send a separate link, but you can always access this at any time, anywhere, from your phone, wherever you'd like to look up our course catalog. It's right on our website, just alexschools.org. And then if you go to the College and Career Center under the high school, you're going to be able to find this link. It just says 24-25 course catalog. There's a link right here. I won't go into it right now, but when I send this out, you can go ahead and access that if you are so inclined. Like I said, we're going to talk through just the differences from middle school to high school, some similarities, and what you can expect as you move over here. So starting on page 3, you are going to see that we start the school day very similar to what you do right now. 8:25 and our school day goes until 3:05. We have 2 different schedules that we operate from. We have a regular school day schedule, that's on the left-hand side here, and then we have an advisory school day schedule, which we run every Wednesday. That's kind of where the similarities end and the differences begin. Timing-wise, the day looks the same as far as what time you arrive at school and what time you're done with school, but you're going to notice pretty quickly, hey, I see an A day and a B day up there, because we operate on a block schedule system, an A day and a B day. So you're going to see on A day we have periods 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you're going to see on B day, we have periods 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we have 4 classes one day, and then a separate, different 4 classes the next day. So we run through the 2 days, over the course of 2 days, you're going to have 8 different classes that you have, okay? With that being said, you're going to see those classes are a little bit longer than what you are used to, okay? 8:25 to 9:52. That's approximately 86 minutes long per class. Now, some have audibly gasped when I've talked about this at the middle school, and students are like, oh, that's really a long time. What? And I even see some faces right now out there. Like, are you serious? 86 minutes? But I assure you, if you know anybody that's currently here, once you get here, and we'll even make a video that I'm going to send out to you from real life freshmen here that will tell you it's really pretty amazing. In that 86 minutes, we get a lot of time both for instruction, but also one-on-one connection time, teachers talking to students, small group work, time to get your homework done, so you don't have to bring a lot home, which is pretty amazing. So over the course of those A Day and B Day, you're going to go through 8 different class periods, then start again on an A Day and keep going through. You can see lunches go through, and they're based on whatever class you have third of the day. Students, like I said, this is a lot, and I'll go through it with you again and again. If you have first lunch, it's based on, again, that third class of your day. That means you go to your first class, second class, and then you go to lunch, and you have your last 2 classes of the day. If you have second lunch, you go to your first class, you go to your second class, you start your third class. Halfway through, you put down all your stuff, you go to lunch, you go back to that same class, finish it out, then you go to your last class of the day and you're done. If you have third lunch, you go to your first class, your second class, and your third class all the way through of the day. You go to lunch after that, you have your fourth class, and you're done with the day, okay? Again, I'm telling you, it's a lot to take in, but you're gonna learn it and know it really quickly once you arrive. On the right-hand side, we have our advisory or options schedule. Every Wednesday, we have a different schedule, a little bit for just familiarity. If you're familiar with Homebase, like how you have Homebase, I'm not quite sure how it looks because I haven't been at Discovery for a few years, but we have advisory built into every Wednesday. So we start our day with your regular schedule, with your regular class, excuse me. Then after that, you'll have your advisory class, which is similar to Homebase. You're kind of going over a lot of different informational things, talking a lot about our academy model, future choices, future plans. And then on the options day, we have advisory, and then opposite of that is options. And options day is kind of like, do you guys all remember SNAP? Does everybody remember that from, I think, when you were in 6th grade, right? I don't know if you do it currently, but that kind of gives you an idea of every Wednesday we build time into the student schedule, but you still go through all of your classes on those same days, okay? So again, these are the general schedules. Now this shows, and this is on, again, page 3, this shows you kind of what potentially a sample schedule might look like for you as a student. You might on an A Day have an English class, a social studies class, an arts, which is an elective, and then another elective. On a B Day, you might have science, algebra, health, or Phy-Ed, and another elective class. So that just shows you over the course of those 2 days what your schedule might look like as you rotate through those A Days and B Days for the semester, okay? Now, this is the big one, and probably the one that I think is the biggest difference for all middle school students coming over here, because everything that you've done up to this point has been very important and has led you to this point, and I'm sure you've heard this from lots of people, from your teachers, from your parents, from family, from friends. Now, everything that you do is important and it counts. The biggest difference of you coming over from any school to this building is that everything that you do has a credit attachment to it, and there are requirements that you need to fulfill in order to graduate on time with your classmates. Okay, that's a big full sentence to make sure to swallow and understand, but on page 5 shows you from the time you arrive here as a 9th grader until the time you leave here at the end of your senior year, all of the required courses that you need to take, okay? I'll break it down real quickly, just so you know, but you again can take this catalog is yours to take home and read as many times as you need. But this again shows you the requirements in general. So we see way up on that side, far right side on the top, English Language Arts. You can see, if you follow that bar from the left to the right, it says 4 credits. 1 credit, students, is the equivalent of basically 1 school year. So when you see 4 credits, that means you take 4 years of English, which, if you think about it, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. Every year that you're here at the high school, you're gonna take an English class for 1 full year, for 1 full credit, okay? We break down all the classes here at the high school by semesters. A semester is a half a year, so you're gonna see some of those here as we go through, but one full credit is the equivalent of one full year. Below English, then you're gonna see social studies. You go over and you see it says 3.5 credits. 3.5 credits is the equivalent of 3.5 years, and that half year actually comes right away when you are a freshman. The requirement is that social studies 9 class, and so that's 1/2 of a credit or 1 semester long course. Below that, you're gonna see mathematics, 3 credits, the equivalent of 3 years. Science, 3 credits, or the equivalent of 3 years. There's a whole lot of information on there, and as you get to those upperclassmen stages, you can start to make a little bit of choice, even within the core requirements, but this shows you in general what that all looks like, okay? Underneath that, you're gonna see health and phy-ed, 1 credit or the equivalent of 1 full year. That again happens right away when you're in 9th grade. You take care of that right when you come in your freshman year, and then you're done with that expectation and have fulfilled it. You can pursue more, but if you're done, that's where you end. Underneath that, you're gonna see the arts, 1 credit or the equivalent of 1 year. It isn't a mandatory requirement that freshmen finish it in their first year, but a lot of students try to fulfill that, at least one, if not both courses, sooner than later, so that they make sure they can check that off their list. Then on the bottom, you're gonna see the remainder of your requirements are fulfilled by that electives, 14.5 credits to bring you to a total of 30 credits in order to graduate from high school, okay, on time with your classmates. That's a big, long list and a long ways away, but information that I feel like it's important to share with you and make sure that you look at. The Freshman Exploration Academy specifically is really emphasizing that exploration piece. We encourage all students to explore lots and lots of different areas, okay? Again, I always tell students that explore piece is our biggest. We encourage, of course, you have to fulfill the necessary requirements that I just talked through. But then you're gonna get into a lot of elective options. You're gonna see all the choices in a little bit, and I really encourage you to go through this book. That's why we have this meeting so much earlier than me coming over to the middle school, because it's really important that you take time to read about all these things that you're interested in. You try to figure out what it is that you're curious about, areas that you're passionate about, and finding different ways to fulfill that within the electives. We are ultimately preparing you for what life's going to look like for you after high school and how we get you there in exploring those different things, okay? Speaking of the other academies, as you get to, and our students right now, so students that were in your spot last year that were at Discovery and came here, right now are freshmen, and they are starting to think about their academy selection. So the Freshman Exploration Academy is what all 9th graders go into. You don't have to make any choice, you don't have to overthink it. We have everyone that comes over here get into that Exploration Academy to explore. Once you fulfill this first year, then you get to have some choice, not only in your electives, but also in your academy pursuit. So we have 3 to choose from. You see on the top, BCE, or Business, Communication, and Entrepreneurship. On page 17 in your catalog is where that information starts, and you can go through and read about all the different pathways, all the different options, and it breaks it down by electives that you should take if you're interested in different career areas. So BCE, Business, Communication, Entrepreneurship, and that includes the arts. Underneath that, we have Engineering, Manufacturing Technologies, and Natural Resources. So EMT&R, that starts on page 25. So again, you can go through and look at those pathways, look at different elective opportunities that might fulfill some of those. And HSHS, Health Sciences, Human Services, starts on page 31. So all of these are introducing you to these academies and small learning communities that students will be a part of once they leave that freshman year and go into their sophomore year, and then stay with that group for the remainder of their 3 years here at the high school. On page 9 and 10 is going to, 10 and 11 is going to be probably the most information within the whole course catalog that you're going to see. This shows you every single course that we offer here at Alexandria Area High School. And I just want to point out to you, as you're going to look through, the top left symbol key is going to be really important for you as you're looking through all this information. And it's important because it kind of points out some different variations in the classes. So you look at the top left, that way top one, that red circle, anytime you see that red circle with the star inside it, you will notice inside the pages on 10 and 11, if there's any class with that designation, that means that would fulfill that art requirement. So any class that you see that has that means that you could take that. And then if you look in each column, if you go over to the far right, you'll see what grade levels that course students can take. So you'll see a lot of 10 and 11, some 11, 12. Anytime it includes 9, that means freshmen can take it, okay? So you're gonna notice that on these pages. Underneath that, you're gonna see that exclamation point. That means that that requires a teacher's signature from your current place, your current class, that they are recommending that you take that next level course. So anytime you see an exclamation point, that's what you're gonna notice is that that requires a signature from your current teacher. Below that, then, that little tiny star, that asterisk, that means that there's a prerequisite or a co-requisite to it. And if that's just a fancy word for saying you need to take a class prior to taking that one, or some classes require that you take them at the same time. Okay, so these actually are also listed on that green page to make sure that we're all, that even if you're looking through all this and it's a lot, on that green sheet specific to freshmen, you'll be able to see it a little bit more clearly. It seems unbelievable. We just completed a college, I said to many as you were coming in, that they're having a college meeting prior to this, and it seems kind of unreal to already start thinking about life after high school when you have not even begun here yet, so hear me out. But it's important, on pages 8 and 9 in the course catalog, it talks through all of the different college offerings here at the high school, and it's important to point out because students might not at this point be able to access those courses. However, in order to get into some of those courses, things are taken into consideration like students' GPA, their class rank, some of their scores on different tests as they've gone through. So it's really important to take these things into account, and again, really stress the importance of moving into the high school and taking every class that you take from start to finish very seriously. Okay, so that kind of shows you, and you can map out, some students might be ready at this point to start thinking about not only next year as a 9th grader, but what then they might take as a 10th grader, an 11th grader, and a 12th grader as they move forward. So just worth noting. As far as specifics to freshmen and specifics to our purpose tonight and our registration, so we're here tonight. We have handed out the materials, they are in your hands. Monday through Wednesday, the week of the 26th, 27th, and 28th, I will be over between Discovery, between Zion. I'm gonna go back and forth a couple of times, but I will be presenting information regarding not only this, but also the actual online computing part of this process, because students have to begin that registration and actually entering their courses into Synergy, so that when you get to that meeting, that it's more of a conversation the night of the 29th or the 4th, and not just the teacher there kind of for data entry. We want to make sure that there's a conversation between you and that teacher, because the teacher that you will be meeting with the night of that conference that you come in for, that is more than likely going to be your advisor as you come over. Not always, sometimes we have a little bit of variation, or maybe we have to change it up, but they all are 9th grade teachers who can answer a lot of questions for you. So make sure that you come with those, not only for the registration process, but 9th grade in general, and any things that you're wondering about. So these times were highlighted, and you got a letter. This isn't everybody's, obviously, I just took a sample, but you got a letter, and right in the middle, that big red writing, it says, your registration conference is, and it'll have a date and a time. So please make sure that you have looked at that. We also have it on the front cover of your registration book tonight, your course catalog. So we put not only the student's name, but your registration night and time. They're pre-assigned, and that's just to make sure everybody has a place and a time, and that you know ahead of time those are the nights that we're coming in. If you have any concern with that, just reference that letter or me at the end. I'll give you my contact information again. If that doesn't work, we'll figure it out together, okay? Moving on to specifically 9th grade course requirements. Now I talked about from start to finish, when you get in here in 9th grade, all the way through your senior year, what you'll need to take. This gives you a breakdown specifically of what the expectations are when you are in your freshman year. So the core requirements, you're gonna see the top, English, 1 full year. So you're gonna see an English 9-1 and an English 9-2. Math, you're gonna take an intermediate algebra or an honors geometry. Science, you're gonna take integrated science or an honors integrated science. Social studies, you're going to take Social Studies 9. We also offer one more opportunity for students. This is the first time already, unbelievably, as a freshman, they can come over and take their first AP level course. AP stands for Advanced Placement, and it's an opportunity for students to take a higher level rigor of class so they can come on over, and if they're interested, we encourage them. That class is 1 full year long commitment though. So that means that if they come and take that class, they would take 2 semesters of it versus the just 1 required, so it would take the place of one of their electives. Okay, I'll get to that in a second on the green sheet, but want to point that out. Health and Phy-Ed, so 1 semester, you can see 0.5 credits, health, PE, and then health, and then the arts, like I said, that depends on the student. The remainder gives you that 7 classes, the total 3.5 credits for the first semester. Most students will come out first semester with 4 credits, and second semester with another 4 to give you 8 by the end of your freshman year. So now we're gonna look at that green sheet that everybody has. This goes over a little bit more specifically, again, what I just said, but here's how we have students fill this out, and parents and families and everybody, because I know everybody looks at this together. So on that top row, you see the gray bar at the top. Obviously you're gonna fill out your student's name, parent or guardian name, phone number and email are what we could access in the summer to get in touch with you if we indeed needed to ask about a class or a course, or if we have some kind of conflict that we need to talk to someone about specifically to you or the student. Then we're gonna get through that first column, or that first row, excuse me, and you see English 9. You're gonna see 2 of those little check blanks. That means it's 2 semesters long, which equates to 1 full year. So students will put 2 checks in front of English 9 because everybody is going to take some level of an English 9 course. So everybody would mark that. Then we go over, you'll see that intermediate algebra or honors geometry. If a student is currently taking an honors pre-algebra class for high school credit, they would then be the students that would fill in that honors geometry, and they would need their current teacher's signature in that line below. Social studies, same thing, 1 semester. If they are indeed interested in taking that AP level, they're gonna put 2 check marks. Again, that requires a teacher's signature on that line. And if they don't have that, we are, and all teachers have been cued to make sure that they go with the regular unless they see that teacher's signature. So make sure, students, I'll remind you of this again. I've talked to your teachers over at Discovery too, to make sure to fill in that line. And then finally, that integrated science, all the way over. Integrated science is what most students are going to take, that honors integrated science. Again, talk with your science teachers, and they would need to put a signature on there. They're familiar with how this works. And then on the far side, everybody's gonna put a check in Phy-Ed, everybody's gonna put a check in health, because that is a requirement for all 9th graders to fulfill. On the bottom, this big, huge row that we have, you're gonna see freshman elective opportunities. Again, this is where I say this is really important that we give you this information early, so you have a lot of time to make a very thoughtful and informed decision about which elective options you're going to take. So you can see we have it broken down by the different academies for students. So you're gonna see on the far left side, they can pick 7 of these courses, which is awesome. So you're gonna see 1 blank in front of most of them. If underneath here, that bottom row, they have 2 checks, that means it's a full year long course. It's a full year commitment. Okay, so again, it's broken down by the academy. So BCE, we went so far as to break down a BCE a little bit further, because there's a little bit of an art and design pathway and a little bit of a business pathway. So that is split up into 2. And again, same as inside that course catalog, Anytime you see a circle with a star inside, that shows you that that's going to fulfill that art level credit, okay? Then you're going to see the business side. Further over, you're going to see EMT&R, all the options underneath the EMT&R Academy, and HSHS, Health Sciences, Human Services, and all of the options underneath that academy. I highly encourage students to try to take at least one from each. I know I can't force. When I've gone over there, some students are like, nope, I know exactly what I want to do, and I want to do them all in these classes, or all in these academy, and that's okay if you really know that, but I think at this age and stage, it's really worth considering trying something in all of them to kind of see where you land, and that's why it's called the Exploration Academy, to really try and explore different things. On the far right side of the bottom, we have global electives, so those would kind of fit and work within all of the academy areas. On the top, you're going to see body fitness. One check means that's one semester long course. That is a weightlifting course, kind of a rigorous course within the weightlifting world. So that's what that one is. Then underneath that, you're going to see world language. Now, you haven't heard me mention world language. If you think back to that first page when I read all of the different requirements in order to graduate from Alexandria Area High School, a world language is not listed on there. However, many colleges and universities require that you have 2 years of the same world language. This is totally up to each individual student and totally up to you thinking about your future and what it is you might be interested in, what things you might like to do after high school, and if indeed you are interested, you might want to consider taking a world language. Oftentimes students, I would say, take it on the front end, like their freshman and sophomore year, to make sure that they have fulfilled that. But again, that is up to each individual. You can see there that they are 2 check blanks because a world language is a commitment for 1 full year. So you would put both check blanks. And then you're going to see that little box underneath that says check if it's okay to take either world language. That's basically telling us if one class is extra full for some reason, I want to make sure that I get into a language to make sure that I have fulfilled that in my freshman year, so I'm okay with either of those. And if you're not, that's okay. You don't have to check that, then we'll know that that's the class that you want, okay? Underneath that, you're going to see all of the musics. If you have any questions about this, or you're like, I don't know which choir I'd fit into, talk to your current instructors. Ask them, they will have these answers for you, and they will have this information. So you're going to see all these classes. Now, if I began to start to read to you the detailed information of each of these classes, we might not leave until tomorrow, and I don't think anybody wants that. So I encourage you to go through. I read, if you remember those pages, like BCE starts on page 17. I wish I could say them all right now, but that's where you're going to find all of the details and descriptions of all of these courses. So go through, read them, students, read them, take them seriously. I have these conversations with current freshmen now, lots. If we get to second semester, I'm like, I don't really want that class. I'm like, you guys remember, we create the entire schedule based on what you tell us right now that you're interested in, so make sure that you take it seriously, because it gets really tricky to try to move around schedules. So we want to make sure that you're taking this and signing up for exactly what it is that you want. So that's on the front hand side. On the back, like I said, I'm going to start going through this with students if you haven't already done so, but when I go over to visit with them, I'm going to reiterate a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today, and then I am going to go through and actually have them start this process of going into Synergy and signing up for their classes and understanding what that looks like, so that they can come home, they can do it at home, they can, everybody can look through and help each other together. As far as reminders and kind of next steps and things like that, so again, we're here tonight. I'm going to be going over there to their middle school in a couple weeks. We're going to fill out, so have this registration form filled out completely, not prior to me coming over, because there's still going to be lots probably to talk about, but once you get to that registration conference, February 29th or March 4th. Because again, we want that to be a good conversation for you with the advisor and the student, and talking about life and plans and what high school is like. Come with all those questions, bring all those materials. We keep that green sheet, so make sure it's filled out, and if you want to have that information, you can write it down somewhere else, but make sure that you know that we keep that. after that, I'm going to send a follow-up message in between now and then. I usually send another note over. I go visit the middle school one more time in between. And then middle schoolers come over here in May and they get another tour. We actually have a question and answer session with current freshmen, which is really fun for students to be able to ask other students that have experienced this year about their experience and different things like that. So that kind of brings us, and then we of course will have some stuff just leading up to that orientation night prior to, and then we'll be starting school before you know it, which is crazy. So I really appreciate you coming. I know it's a lot. Like I said, I am sending out all of this information in an email message to you that has the links to this slideshow, that has the screencast if you want to watch. It's 27 minutes long. I'm sorry, sometimes I can talk lots. It has the link to the course catalog, and it will have some more information in it. So I really appreciate your time. It was so nice to see all of you, and I look forward to working together. If you haven't already, you can take a picture of this or a screenshot or do whatever you need to do to remember my contact information. If you have questions, find me. I'm going to be standing right out back here at the end. Otherwise, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.